Hi, my name's Adam, I'm part of the We Are Tearfund community, and I am here to run you through a series answering all the questions you might have in the run-up to COP26. Firstly, the biggest question, what even is it? Before we really get stuck into the thick of this question, if you want to catch the rest of this series and any of the other awesome video content we've got planned for the channel, make sure you subscribe to keep yourself up to date. You might have heard of people referring to COP26, but you might not have heard of people referring to its deceptively more exciting name, Conference of Parties. However, when I'm talking about parties here, we're actually talking about countries that have signed up to the less excitingly named United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And when we're talking about countries that have signed, this is a party where everyone's invited because every single UN recognised country has signed up to the treaty, and that means they all send a representative or diplomat to come along to the meetings. The first event was held back in 1995 in Berlin, and they've been happening every year since, except 2020 because of obvious reasons that let's never talk about again. And because it's the 26th one of these conferences, they are super creative and just stick a 26 on the end. The general purpose of these conferences are for world leaders to come together and discuss and coordinate the global response to climate change. Because it includes stakeholders from all over the world, it happens in a different place every single year. This could be places you might have expected, like Montreal or Berlin or New Delhi, or slightly less expected maybe, but like holiday destinations like Cancun or Bali. This year sees the UK take up the task for the very first time, with Glasgow seeing COP26 between the 1st and 12th of November. This will be the largest gathering of world leaders and delegates that the UK has ever seen, so there's a lot of pressure on the UK government for it to go well and for them to get some real agreements. So as we're on the 26th year of these meetings, it's probably useful for us to take a look back and see what's happened at previous ones so we can get an idea of what might be in store this time round. In the last 25 years of conferences, it's pretty safe to say there have been some real highs and lows. We'll focus on more recent events because they're most likely to impact this year's conference. The one that we're probably all most likely to have heard the most about is the one that gave us the Paris Agreement. Funnily enough, it was hosted in Paris. Bonjour! In a super quick, 30-second rundown, the Paris Agreement was signed at COP21 in 2015 in Paris. And it basically sees global governments agreeing to some new targets to mitigate climate change. These included limiting global average temperature increases to 2 degrees Celsius, and ideally keeping them basically as low as possible, especially trying to keep them under the 1.5 degree barrier. It also saw them agree to reduce to net zero emissions by 2050, and for economically richer countries to support others in sustainable development. These targets are definitely a step forward, but it came under criticism as it fails to legally bind countries to their targets, arguably making action much less likely. But despite this criticism, it is still seen as one of the largest steps the global community has taken towards mitigating climate change. And it kind of sets the basis for everything that happens going forward. So that's kind of the more optimistic view, but we don't have to look back very far to see a meeting that didn't go quite as well. Hopes were pretty high going into COP15 in the Danish capital of Copenhagen. The aims for the meeting, much like in Paris, were to get the global community to agree to a legally binding treaty to reduce emissions and keep global average temperature increases under 2 degrees Celsius. However, by the last day of the conference, nothing had really been agreed upon, and so the US, along with a couple of other countries like China and India, decided to release what they called the Copenhagen Accord. This wasn't agreed upon by all the countries, and it certainly wasn't the legally binding treaty that everybody had hoped for. It was more of a statement of intent by these countries to reduce emissions. The conference was seen as a missed, sorely needed opportunity to take a serious step forward to a substantial climate plan. Sounds pretty familiar, right? All this information is well and good, but it might sound a bit overly complicated and confusing and bureaucratic for us to really understand or care about what all these world leaders are talking about in their fancy lobby rooms. but there's a real reason for us to care what happens in Glasgow. The scientists have agreed. Not only is climate change real, we've known that for a long time, but actually its impacts are being felt right now. Back in August, the IPCC, which is the world's leading scientific body on climate change with authors and contributors from across the globe, released the first part of their 6th assessment report. And essentially what this says is that while it's true to say that climate change is going to have severe impacts in the future, it's saying that actually those impacts are already being seen now. It says that with climate change already causing greater amounts of drought, more intense flooding, heat waves and greater ocean acidification, amongst a whole bunch of other issues, it's important that we act as soon as we possibly can to stop these issues from getting worse. The report stresses that while some benefits from reducing emissions like cleaner, more breathable air will be seen pretty quickly, it could take up to 20 or 30 years for us to see a substantial impact in global temperatures. And it's these global temperatures that are causing a lot of the natural disasters that we just mentioned. So COP26 is really important. If we're serious about protecting our planet and those that are most at risk from climate change, we need to act as soon as we possibly can. The question still remains whether Glasgow will be a repeat of some of the failed meetings in the past, or whether it will see the global community finally take a substantial step forward towards a serious climate plan. To really understand whether Glasgow and COP26 is a success, we need to understand what its goals are and what successful outcomes would look like. And luckily, that is the exact topic of the very next video I'm going to be making around COP26. So subscribe and like and stick with the channel if you want to see and hear about that. I know that terms like world leaders and the biggest conference the UK has ever seen can make it seem pretty daunting and unrealistic that we ourselves are going to have a real impact. But there's ways that we can make those in charge hear our voices. Firstly, if you haven't already, you could sign our Take a Stand open letter to world leaders. We're going to be delivering this to the UK government during COP26 to show them the determination of the We Are Tearfund community to take serious action on climate change. Another really great option would be to reach out to your MP or regional representative in Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland and just really let them know how you feel. You can either email them, or if you're feeling confident enough, you could arrange a meeting with them and go over your concerns in person. We've got some awesome guides on how you can do this, how you can find out who your representative is if you don't already know, and also how to write these emails and arrange a meeting. We've got guides for whether they're in a governing party, so like the DUP or Conservatives, or whether they're in an opposition party, which covers basically every other party. All the links for that kind of stuff and a couple of other bits will be down in the description. So yeah, thanks very much for watching. And if you have any other questions, anything you're confused about COP26, please just drop them in the comments and we'll do some research and try and get the answers included in the next videos.